One of my fashion ins and outs for this year is to wear more color. And recently I realized that I'm actually afraid of wearing color, and I truly realized the reasons behind that. And I want to discuss and muse about this very topic because for the longest time I thought I would express myself authentically with neutrals and black, and I thought this is clearly who I am, this suits my character, and I felt good in this. But I realized that this was a delusion, and this was something that I didn't really consciously picked for myself. And I truly think that a lot of people are in this mindset of, I like neutrals more, they work better with my capsule wardrobe, they are easier, and there are psychological and societal reasons behind that, which I want to discuss today. So let's start right in. I have a lot of notes on this, so bear with me. When I was on vacation recently in Thailand, I realized that I'm actually not expressing myself fully when I'm wearing black. And how did I found out? I had to buy some things because I haven't had enough there with me, and I bought a lot of colorful things, a lot of things with patterns and bright bold colors, and I felt a sensation which I haven't felt in a long time. I had joy wearing my clothing. It's not that I don't like what I have already, but the color gave me different energy than I had previously. And I thought, why don't I feel comfortable wearing these types of clothes back home in my day-to-day life? And I got down this rabbit hole of self-discovery. I have to say that the reason is that I am afraid of color. I have chromophobia, like many of you guys probably have too. So let's start where it all began. When I was a child and teenager, I loved to play with colors. Colors gave me so much joy. My room was bright pink. Like, you know how little girls are. They get, and little children in general, they get so much joy of expressing themselves as boldly and oftentimes loudly as they can, and I was one of them. Even as a teenager, this was like the pre and the beginnings of Instagram era, and this is where I stiffened up a bit, but I was still quite out there with my clothing, with my patterns, and the way I expressed myself was not muted down as it was when I got 18 and older. But later in life, when it became more important to me how I project myself to the outer world, how others perceive me, I stiffened and got in a creative rut in terms of fashion, because all of a sudden colors, bright colors, became for some reason childish, silly, unserious, even unattractive, and I even have to say unsexy. As embarrassing as that is, what I think happened was that I was in the age of picking my personal fashion icons, which were and still are Marilyn Monroe and Monica Bellucci, and I tried to mimic their style in a sense, and I realized they didn't wear a lot of bright colors. They were more gemstone type of colors, emerald, ruby, like deep blue, navy blue, and classic patterns, but nothing very girly or playful. So I thought, okay, if I want to be a woman like that, I have to dress like that. I really put myself into a box, and years went by when I never bought anything colorful, except for maybe pajamas and stuff. This is where I went crazy, and this is also a symptom that you maybe find in yourself when you wear these little pieces at home, like a Hello Kitty pajama or fun colorful socks. This may be your inner child wanting to break out of your black and white prison cell, you know. This is like my thoughts as I go with this flow. And then I read the book Chromophobia by David Batchelor, and it literally blew my mind. This is just a very brief summary of it, so if you're interested in that topic, please go ahead and read it. You can find it online for free. I will link it below. He explains that there is literally the fear of color, which means chromophobia, obviously. And Batchelor argues that the Western society and culture associates color with the feminine, with the primate, with the childlike, or the foreign, while form and structure, which are typically more masculine concepts, take precedence. In fashion, this can translate to neutrals being the safer options and the safe colors that go with everything. And the reason behind this and the psychology behind this goes much, much deeper than you actually think. He goes on to say that chromophobia stems from the historical fear that color could contaminate the purity of form, intellect, and reason. For example, minimalist aesthetics and art and design often emphasize clean, white spaces as a symbol of intellectual purity. In interior design even, I don't like a lot of clutter, but there's a difference between sterile white interior and a cozy home. There's a difference between that. And as a society, we progressed from like the human, the coziness, to this cold way of living, which is kind of scary if you ask me. This idea manifests in fashion when bright or bold colors are seen as gaudy, unsophisticated, or excessive, while monochromatic or muted palettes are viewed as elegant and timeless. The whole old money trend fits perfectly into this idea that the more high class you are, the more money you have, the more status you have in society, the less color you would wear, and that expensive clothing and garments are actually more colorless. The Enlightenment phase in history emphasized rationality and order, which influenced the suppression of color in favor of structure. The emphasis on reason often marginalized color, associating it with chaos or emotion, which we're again with the feminine, because the feminine is usually associated with the emotion. And this is exactly what I mean by we're afraid of color because we think we will be perceived as less professional, less trustworthy even, and attractive to a certain kind of group of people from a status that we would like to belong to. But then chromophobia has another even darker layer of psychology behind it, because when we look at the cultural and historical context of the fear of color, we will go to the colonial times and exoticism. During colonial times, vibrant colors were often associated with colonized peoples and deemed exotic or inferior. The West positioned itself as refined and rational, using muted tones to distinguish itself from the primitive use of color in other cultures. In contemporary fashion, this bias may persist when colorful traditional garments from non-Western cultures are exoticized or appropriated rather than integrated respectfully. This also applies more to high fashion than mass market fashion or personal style even. What I see in the streets is not people that express themselves, it's usually people that dress the same. It's like these couple of few people that I see in a big city that truly express themselves authentically, and they don't look like anyone else that I've seen before. Furthermore, the Industrial Revolution and urbanization played into this whole chromophobia thing, where the rise of industrialization led to the dominance of gray, black, and white in urban environments, especially if you think about the United States and Great Britain also in the times of the Industrial Revolution, which became synonymous with modernity. Bright colors were left to nature and the rural. And it's still the same today. The more modern we get, the less and less color there is. And the less and less detail there is as well. Today, this urban preference for neutrals persists in minimal fashion trends and the tech uniform of grayscale palettes. When we take this whole concept with the historical context and put it onto fashion, it can be summed up as the fear of standing out because we don't want to be pushed out of a certain group based on the way we look. And even though we're trying to be more open as a society, we have to admit that we actually aren't. Because if you go right now, place where a lot of people in your town are, you will see that quite the majority of them are dressed similarly and also in the same color palette, more or less. This fear often leads to safer choices such as black and beige and you name it. This is the whole concept of chromophobia by David Batchelor. I mean, I had to break it down extremely for this video, but I think you can get the gist of it. It's the fear of color basically stems from racism, colonialism, industrial revolution, and urbanization, and of the Western culture putting itself on the top of every societal standard, basically, which sets the standard of what's acceptable and what's not. And I feel like the way cities were built in the last 50 years, the way furniture is made, the way clothings are made, the way everything is made more poorly, much simpler, but not in terms of quality, but more in terms of simple structure, simple fabric, simple colors. So this is where I think we went a little bit off, and where we lost ourselves, and where we conditioned ourselves that, for example, for a child to express itself colorful and boldly is normal because it's a child, it's very emotional, this is what children are doing. But then as we grow up, we have this urge to be more serious, to appear more professional, and to signal to a certain group of people that we want to belong to, this group, obviously. I mean, therefore there were subcultures like the punk subculture. I mean, this is how society works. I'm not saying anything new. What I'm saying is, though, that I tried to convince myself for the longest time that only wearing black and white is who I am. This is how I express myself authentically as a self-pronounced fashion girly. And I had to realize that it's not the case, that I too fell for this propaganda, you can call it also propaganda, and that I actually am very passionate about colors and about cute patterns and about more girly, cutesy stuff than I actually realized, and that I had denied myself to. This sounds very dramatic, and I don't want it to be so dramatic. This is just like a thought-daughter concept of mine. I'm just thinking about this stuff. I want to muse with you about this because I feel like a lot of people are in this place where they are actually afraid of wearing colors. Because I was for the longest. Even though I loved it on other people, I loved it in fashion shows, I just could never. But now, for this year, for my 2025 fashion ins and outs, you know that I want to incorporate more color. I'm also an image consultant, and I know my color season. If you're into color season, we can definitely talk about this too if you're interested. I also feel like there are colors that may not suit me and that I don't feel confident in, and this is also very fine. I mean, this is like one of the only colorful things in my wardrobe, and it's not even that colorful. It's like almost gray. What I want to touch on for the end of this video is how we can go out of it if you want to, if you wish to incorporate more color in your style. So how do we overcome chromophobia? I think we should embrace the symbolism of color, meaning dig deeper into color, like get your color season, get typed, text me in my DMs on Instagram, I can do this for you as well, and then look at your color palette and look at the colors that you resonate with the most, and look online for the meaning behind those colors. What is the psychological meaning behind it? How does it affect you when wearing it? How does it affect other people? Really dig a little bit deeper to understand colors, because sometimes we have to understand things to overcome the fear and to create new neural pathways so that we can see color in a new, fresh, interesting way rather than in a silly, unserious way. And also the way I do it is, after I realize what colors suit me with which undertones, I gradually try on different things. When I go out, when I'm shopping, when I'm going through friends' clothing, when I see something colorful, I will try it on and I will see how does it look on me, how do I feel in this, and step by step I will incorporate more color. Also with accessories, I think is also a great way to do this and to get used to color, for example with a bag or with shoes. I have a very cute baby pink bag and I love to wear it, and this was one of the first colorful purchases recently, and it really made me used to wearing color more often. Start small and experiment. There's no rush, and you don't have to copy paste something colorful that you liked on someone else on yourself. This may result in regret buys, so I don't advise you to do that. Really go slow but steady. Overcome it step by step by getting more used to it, by trying things out, and just have fun with it. Also remember what kind of colors brought joy to you as a child. Go through your childhood photographies and see what you looked and what you glowed in, with patterns as well. If you gravitate towards florals, try florals in a muted tone and then go a bit brighter, or with color blocks, or with leopard print, whatever it may be. Go the path of least resistance with color, and then you will find your way how you can actually work with colors. Also, nail art is a great way to incorporate color for a very neutral toned gal. These are some of my personal tips that I use recently. If you have any other tips on how to overcome the fear of wearing color and where to find inspiration for that as well, please share this with us. I just love to hear your opinion on these things and your perspective, and if you also feel the same way. And yeah, I just can't wait to read your messages and comments, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.